So the first question
Yeah, we'll see what
I've been asking everybody. So is whether they were comic book kids, collecting comics, or if it's something they got into later, or maybe like me, they weren't into comics at all.
Oh, you weren't into comics either, eh?
Not at all. Not at
No,
all.
as much. It, Interesting. So I thought about it a lot because my first response is that I wasn't a comic book kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I realized that, but also I realized it's because I didn't really identify as such, and I wasn't a hardcore collector, which
Right.
is,
Right.
and not in my teens necessarily.
Okay. Right.
But
Right.
I was a total comic book kid in another way. I had a small collection as a kid of like kids comics,
Okay.
like Richie Rich and
Right. Right.
Disney.
Right. 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 Yes. Yeah.
Like I did those as a kid.
Yeah.
And
The cartoony.
the cartoony stuff. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
cartoony than Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So and then I think I segued into like I had a collection of old Charlie Browns, like original '70s like Charlie Browns, and then
Right.
Calvin
Right.
and Hobbes,
The strip
and then the
comic
Far
strip.
Side.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
that was really more like where I connected to a lot of the comic book stuff. Oh, and huge Mad Magazine. I collected Mad Magazine. Like Al Jaffe just died, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
like I pulled out some books. I've got a bunch of them. So, and I think I was I'm still influenced by those. I think,
Yeah.
but my
Yeah.
tradition is more that of a visual artist.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you about that because
It's a little different.
yeah, I was already.
But then,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was already studying art history when I was 10, and I was already recognized as I drew like drawings of sports and rock stars and stuff. So I was already into that zone, and so the comics that were available seemed to me. I had a younger brother who read all the cartoony ones, right? Richie Rich, like you mentioned, Daffy Duck and stuff. To me, they were already too simplistic. Even at the age of 10.
Well, those I think I read those when I was 8 or something. Like, like those were pretty. Those were pretty basic.
Basic.
It's like they were meant for kids. It's like But Calvin and Hobbes was very profound.
But did you watch cartoons? That was the other thing.
I did.
Yeah,
I did. Yeah. I watched a lot of cartoons as well as a kid, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Saturday, Sunday mornings.
Of course, yeah.
And I did like find alternative comics a little bit in my teens. Like, like I had a Zap, and I did start collecting Weirdo. And when I met Matthew Brown and his crew in high school, then I got a deep dive into people that really knew that scene, and we're all creating crumb-like stuff. So that reawakened that. So at that point, I have a bit of a collection of Zippy the Pinhead. I actually have a bunch of like oddities now. Kaz, I do have people that I like that I found again. But like I wasn't like a Marvel person, or a big collector of them.
Now, what about graphic novels? So for me, I got into graphic novels more than comics, and as a 50-year-old.
Right. Yeah.
Are you interested in graphic novels?
I am. I do have some. I don't think I'm as interested in them again as people in our group, because I'm not interested in long form stuff as much. For me, all my work is stills. I'm very Far Side when I want to tell a story. Or when I want to do a comic thing. And actually, all my fiction right now, I'm writing a lot of fiction. They're all short stories,
or single panel, or single page kind of.
Single panel, yeah. So I do actually have a lot. I've been getting more and more of a collection of graphic novels, and I do really like them. But I don't. I would say I'm still only like I'm invested in some, but I've seen some that are great. I've got Kim Deitch, Like he's got, and I like Ed the Happy Clown. Like I read that in high school. I love that, like. So yeah, no, I definitely like it.
Right.
Actually,
Well,
this
and
is
then there was and now there was Ernie Pook's comic. I don't know if you followed that, Linda
I
Barry.
did.
Yeah.
I did. I followed Ernie Fuchs comic, and
Yeah.
I read Life in Hell like every week, and now I'm at Ed
Right.
Stevens'
Right.
shit,
Right.
right
Right. Right.
before The
Yeah.
Simpsons, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
actually,
Yes.
one of the comics in the last comic I did in that
The
Cheat
online.
City
Yeah.
stuff
Yes.
for Online 3 is I realize is kind of a Matt Groening,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Life in
Yeah.
Hell,
Yeah. Yeah.
tribute on how simple you can be to tell a story,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Um, so that leads into the question of like,
Yeah.
what is your work about? The stuff that appears in online and in this book offline.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like there's the drawings, the line drawings, the simple stories, and then there's the more, the like the fake ad kind of things for the. So yeah, if you can just talk about what your work is about, what themes your work,
Yeah. So let me think about what I have there.
and it can
I
be
mean,
about other work too. But I mean the
yeah. I want to say primarily I come at my work as an abstractionist, a surrealist, and an automatist. So I
right,
want to
right, yeah,
improvise, and I want to play in a kind of mythic space. But I am very influenced by cartooning and drawing and graphic art,
right, right,
and graphic novels and Japanese prints actually, and that whole
right, right,
tradition of
right,
right.
right.
So there's a
Yeah, like
lot of
in one of
crossover
the
where my work looks like.
yeah, one of the onlines was
Yeah,
Schrodinger's kittens, for example, uh, which is totally absurd, um, surreal, yet jokingly philosophical.
yeah. Well, thank you. That's right. I forgot to put that in. See, that's cool because that's going to the sci-fi writing I'm doing, where that
Right.
comes out of that sci-fi writing first, where
Okay.
I've been playing with Schrodinger and having him having kittens and so on,
Right.
a little bit. So it comes out of that, and it also comes out of anime a little bit, like how
Mhm.
I like playing with stuff that's on the cusp of meaning, like
Right.
between
Right.
being ineffable and having archetypal meanings and stuff like that. So a lot of
Right.
my stuff dips into abstraction and then dips into figuration. So for
Right.
that, I've been really thinking about how the anime tradition, all you need to do is have like, like what if I just started putting ears on things? Like for the longest time in abstraction, I gave it like a foot, and it's like immediately, oh, so this abstraction is a real thing. It's not just drawings, like you're describing something,
Mhm.
So in the same way you can just put ears on a thing, and suddenly this abstraction is a creature. You start accepting it as a creature, and
Yes.
it's
Yes.
cute.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
what the Schrodinger's cat's drawings
Right.
were as
Right.
well. I just
Right.
started
Right.
I started playing with abstract lines that were almost kitten like.
Well, for sure, and kind of almost Picasso-esque, cubistic, and which led to that, the whole question of does it exist or not exist? So, is it wave
Yeah,
or
yeah,
particle?
exactly. Well, and in my stories, Schrodinger's cat is kind of like I have him being a bit of a quantum particle. Like he pops in and out of existence. He might take other forms,
Mhm.
So
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
like the idea of representing him as a shifting shape
Right, right,
visually,
right. Um, so,
and the writing and the
yeah,
drawings feed back and forth into
right,
how
right, right.
like sometimes I'm illustrating something I'm writing, and then that's going to feed back into what I actually decide to write about. Like I've
Okay,
discovered
right.
details by doing that
Or
as
you might
well
start with the
lately.
drawing. Might start with the drawing, and then writing grows out of that.
Absolutely. I've got a
Yeah,
lot of pieces to start with that, or start with cool things I saw online. Like a lot of it is based by technology, and then I'll either draw it or write it or whatever based on, like a lot, like I do a lot of research, like
yeah, yeah.
for things like I'm looking
You get a
at
sense as
people drawing. Or,
yeah, you get a sense
yeah.
that your work that there's other stuff behind it. There's other forms of learning. Um, Also, kind of interested or curious because you kind of go between doing like drawing in the real world and graphic stuff online. Um, Maybe you can sort of talk about that and like is there something that drives when you choose to, draw with, ink or paint versus when you, do things graphically online. And I just want to add, like,
It's a good.
the stuff online is loose and fun the way like an actual drawing. So there isn't a sense that it's necessarily computer art. You know how a lot of graphic novels, and this sort of annoys me, they do the drawing by hand, but then they do the colorization in a photo program, and it all looks so fucking fake.
Yeah, yeah. No, I'm not interested in trying to illustrate things. I'm still a fine artist where I'm like a mark maker.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
come at the digital thing from a. Well, I mean, I've played with digital stuff in a few ways, but that continuum is really like I used to do a lot of abstract painting, and then I realized I hadn't really learned to draw. Like I, took life drawing and I could draw some, but I wasn't as invested in it.
Okay.
So after university, I wanted to learn how I draw
Mm.
and what my symbolism is. So I spent a lot of time just doing pure pen work in
Right,
sketchbooks that are half cartoonish and half, like
right,
symbolic work and
right,
stuff
right.
like that. So the digital move was to make, because print studio is expensive, but these line drawings could be turned into prints.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And the iPad pen actually is now responsive,
Okay, right.
like like it's even
So
pressure sensitive.
you're drawing on like with some kind of pen
I'm working on a
okay,
tablet
okay, okay.
with a digital pencil that's got a
Right,
nib that
right.
even is pressurized, and that communicates, an angle communicates, and it can do brush work. I'm amazed by it. It's not just like an emulator the way the
Yeah,
old
yeah,
paint boxes
yeah,
were.
yeah,
It actually has, I mean, it still is an emulator, you know what I mean? It has
yeah,
a
yeah,
lot
yeah,
more
yeah.
information in it.
Simulated.
And now the technology is such that, because I've got like one of the newer iPads. Like it's
Okay,
finally fast enough that if you draw, like if you do this, there's a delay. But if you just
okay,
draw naturally, it's immediately responsive. So you're not thinking ahead. You're not doing graphic
right, right,
design.
right.
It's like you can be in the moment and improvise.
So you're just doing regular drawing. You're still drawing with your
I'm just
hands.
doing. I'm
Yeah.
still just drawing. Yeah,
It's
but I
being,
wanted, like, I also. Yeah,
yeah, it's just
yeah, but
instead of paper, it's a screen, and it's yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
partly it's that I do a lot of that. I mean, I have played in Photoshop, and I do like it because I can work in layers. I can do a
Yeah,
clean
yeah,
erase.
yeah,
Like I can build colors underneath. Some of
right,
my
right.
pieces do a lot of that. Even if the end, I then simplify it again.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, I do love that. I do love that process of it. So that is another reason why. Yeah,
Oh, then I think it was either in the in both this issues 2 and 3, the background is black or is black and purple, and the lines are white. So doing it online allows you to invert things and use different.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because I really wanted a bumped up space. Like I also studied Zen calligraphy and stuff,
Okay.
and I'm influenced by that. So I like the idea of having a very simple presentation,
Right,
just doing a simple black on white thing. But often that still doesn't communicate. I didn't want to be able to bump it up and turn it into a print. And so the obvious way was to just invert
right,
that.
right.
But I work directly in white line. Like I make a black drop, black,
Okay, okay.
and then work in white.
So you're not inverting later. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, yeah.
No. Sometimes I do with backgrounds. I also do a lot of painterly backgrounds, digital, and I want to work I also work usually. I want to work on photographs. I've got work like that. I haven't shown any online, but I've got that kind of stuff too. A way of doing like surrealist collage, but not having it just be cut out. Although I like that too, but being able to draw and integrate. Like sticking sticking a photocopy on a canvas. And then doing all that kind of work, but it's like it's all kind of a seamless thing online. I mean digitally.
Yes, yes, of course, yeah, yeah.
So there's a lot of reasons why I do that.
So so the book that this interview is in, offline, you have works in all 3 issues of online. Do you have other projects or publications coming up, or any projects you want to tell us about? How about
Yeah. So actually, a gallery I've a really fun downtown gallery I've worked with a little bit is reopening after the pandemic.
Right.
It's called the Super Wonder Gallery by Christian Aldo. And it's kind of a bit of a funhouse gallery. Like it's not a traditional, like just painting on the wall gallery. It's an event space. Like he has theater and all kinds of things. So he does a group show called which is a big science fiction show.
Cool. Right.
So I'm going to be a participant in that. And so I've got 4 pieces that I'm bringing to him. I assume he'll take them all. 2 of them are line drawings, like I've been showing, just like white line on black that have sci-fi themes, and 2 of them are actual photo collages that I've done that are with this science fiction writing project that I'm on. So they're like the idea that a print could be an entire short story. So actually, in a way, that goes back to graphic novels too, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
It's like I'm not illustrating the entire story, but I'm illustrating parts of it. And sometimes, if there's a graphic around a tight story, I can present the entire story alongside of the image. So I like that idea.
So it seems to
like
me that
on the wall,
your interests aren't strictly traditional, whether it's comics, graphic novels. It seems to be, and similar to maybe my interest in having words and pictures working together in various formats, whether it's on a drawing on a wall, online, or in a print, or
no, exactly. I'm interested in a lot of the crossover there.
Right.
And I'm influenced by a lot of different things. So all those influences come in.
That was my next question. You can talk about other influences that are not necessarily a graphic novel or comics or even art. Because your work does definitely, when you look at it, there's more going on than just a traditional graphic novel or even just graphic art.
Right. Yeah. No, it's true. I'm interested in a lot of things, and I wanted to have I don't know. I just want to have a lot of meaning behind things, so I'm thinking about a lot of different things, even if I then like they just kind of play in and out. But I think probably 2 of the big things that are in there is I've studied mysticism a lot, and philosophy around the mind a little bit, and then I study physics a lot, and contemporary physics, and you'll see all of my work has those things into it. And I like music a lot and improvised forms. So those are all currents that show up in the iconography a lot. You'll see a lot of heads with like a dot in it representing the void in your mind, or there's technology interwoven in it. There's a lot of arrows, like it's a
diagrammatic or whatever.
Like it's a diagram of something meaningful. The way the surrealists do it, but then the meanings are, archetypal or just or that's the meaning. I'm literally just. Because actually one thing, like being an abstractionist, it's like, graphics can be like, you can just do it as a visual thing, or you can really feel that there's like meaning behind it, and I always was one of the people, that had a lot of, meaning and symbolism in it, so, and then to find people didn't get that sense that it was a real thing, I think in university and maybe think pure abstraction, and there was all that work about, locating things in the body, all that body work that was done as well. So I think in some ways it's like I take abstraction and go, no, this is a real way of the world is or how I am, and then I put it in the body by giving it arms or legs or merging it. I want to be able to bring all those elements in. So those are some of the things that drive a lot of that. Ultimately, I want to be able to improvise though, and surprise myself though too.
So you're working in a sense intuitively, but in an informed, intuitive way that kind of like a trust that all those things are going to come together in the right way. The way a great improvising musician, right? They've got the thousands of hours of training and studies, and then in that moment, the thing that comes out is what's meant to come out.
Right, exactly. And in terms of music, improvisers have ultimately work around motifs is one of the simplest
Sure.
things,
Yeah.
right? You have different
Yeah.
patterns that you
Yeah.
develop and so on.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and I have that too. So I have my free line motifs, and then I have certain body parts I like to work in because they
Right. Right.
have certain
Right. Right.
meanings,
Right.
and I have certain
Good point.
abstract or geometric things. I might be thinking of philosophy or history or drawing what's in front of me,
Right. Right.
and I want to be able to have this space. And ultimately, my goal is to have a space that's as loose and lucid between that. I was thinking there's a classic line. I'm fairly certain it's Paul Klee, from point to line to plane, as a way
Okay.
of understanding how we draw.
Right.
You start from points, and then you create a line, then you create a plane. So
Right. Right.
for me, my joke
Yeah.
is I go from point to line to plane to air to trains, planes, and automobiles. So I want like I want to be able to go in and out of abstraction and back into figuration and back into symbolism and
Right
kind of
on.
do something that
Yeah. Yeah.
embraces all of those things in a grand play, because I studied all those things. I'm interested in
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
things,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's how my work is postmodern, even though it looks very modernist. It's very sourced in modernity, but the way it
Right.
wants to play with all of those things makes it kind of part of that intellectual stream.
Exactly. Exactly. I think we've talked maybe in the past about you might want to publish all these things in a book at some point. Can you?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many things I want to do with them. Um, I would like
Right.
to do some publishing. Well,
Yeah.
right now, in terms of publishing, I'm doing some science fiction writing, and I want to create a chapbook soon. I've
Right.
actually looked
Right.
through
Right. Right.
short stories I've been writing.
Right.
As a, they're probably not quite ready yet, but I'm excited about that. I'm doing
Right.
graphics
Right.
around that. So I
Right.
think
Right.
that's the only book thing I'm thinking
Okay.
about
Right.
right
Right. I
now.
think that's right.
But
That's what we're
also,
talking
towards creating that, I'm creating a lot of visuals alongside it. So I've created a postcard around it that I'm starting to distribute around the city just for fun. And then those are becoming prints as well. So I want to show those.
Right.
I'm
Right.
thinking more of like getting in things in cafes for a while, then creating another book for a bit. Well, I've
Right.
got,
Right.
yeah,
Right.
those,
Yeah.
those
Yeah.
two
Yeah.
ideas.
Yeah. Awesome. Let's see. I don't know if I have any other questions.
Yeah, I
um,
think,
oh, you know what? I did wanna, because you also edited issue 2 of online,
oh
and
yeah.
uh, I didn't have any specific questions, but I wanted to ask about like how that experience was for you to
I
be.
really enjoyed that.
Yeah, yeah,
I really enjoyed it. I took a lot of time to do it. I liked getting the people around it, and finding a few people that wouldn't know us that like
right,
could bring into
right,
the fold.
right.
I enjoyed
Well, you
just
created
just
the vision or the template for that issue, right? With the cover and the.
well, in terms of engaging with the work, yeah, I really enjoyed also just like finding a nice rhythm of pieces, between
Yeah,
pieces that like
yeah,
look
yeah,
strong out of the gate,
yeah,
and
yes,
going back
yes,
and forth
yes,
between different kinds of narrative, and then something that might be like take a little more attentiveness or sensitivity to. You're already warmed up. You already have trust in the magazine. Like just thinking about that whole narrative flow of pieces
right.
was
Yeah,
really interesting.
it's a real. It's
Alone,
almost like editing a movie or doing collage where you have to, like you say, balance out.
yeah,
More
yeah,
dynamic
like
works with the more subtle works with, and so it all holds together. You can't have
what
like
holds together
a
like
whole
like
bunch
a
of
piece. Yeah,
bold like work at the beginning and then it all fade, more
right.
sensitive
No,
works
exactly.
later. Yeah, yeah,
The way you design, the way you design anything, like you do a film program or anything,
yeah,
start strong, end strong with things that stand on their own, things that are like weirder. You want to kind of tuck in the middle between things that have points. I
yes,
kind of
yes,
try. So I actually really enjoyed engaging with that. And then I also enjoyed, giving it a graphic feel. I wanted to actually give it something specific, um, which was but keeping true to what Matthew had done.
yeah,
So using his font, but just doing what
yeah,
like
yeah.
just giving it some shapes and
Well,
giving it a bit of structure here.
so it holds together from beginning to end.
Yeah, give it a bit of a magazine,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody. So it's interesting as the editor and the designer of the magazine or publication. Each one has a different flavor, and
Yeah.
yeah, no, that was fun. I enjoyed doing it too.
Yeah.
All right.
I also just like thinking it through in a group. Like I've done a
Yeah.
lot of theater work, and event production and marketing. So actually,
Right.
just the
Right.
kind of communal building thing about it. Well, I don't do that a lot. I really enjoyed
Right.
that here,
Yeah.
even
It
though I kept it
balances
simple.
out
But
like doing your individual work and
yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was a nice
Yeah.
change. Yeah, I would definitely do that again. Um,
Yeah. For sure.
Although right now I want, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It sounds like you got a lot on your plate.
Well, a lot of projects. Yeah, exactly. Not this week. Not this,
You're never a
but
lack of stuff to do, right?
yeah,
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 exactly. Actually, what I want to do for us next is do a poster for us. Is what I need to do that I
right,
can do in my marketing. And I
right,
didn't get
right.
the 3 out, but I was thinking now that we're about to have this hard copy out, I'll I'll figure out something that's like online 1, 2, and 3, offline. We're cool. Here's a bunch of graphics, and it would, and then it can
Exactly,
just be up for another year
exactly.
because the ones I put out before lasted for a really long time. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much for
Okay.
sharing your ideas, so we can get an opportunity to talk about your work, and that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks for doing this. I'm really glad you're turning this into a solid thing, an actual physical
Yeah,
copy. It
yeah,
looks
yeah,
good, and
yeah, yeah.
these were
Exactly.
cool. This was cool to
Yeah,
think about.
yeah, yeah. All right, man. We'll talk again soon.
All right.
All right.
Take it easy, Charles.